recording and transcription. Okay, so welcome everyone to the April 15, 2026 Microsoft 365 Modern Management Meetup. And for this session, I just really wanted to do something like a little bit different to what we've been doing previously, but something that we've touched on in the past but haven't really focused on too much, which is just sort of pulling out a couple of items or topics around a few things and just sort of going through them. Nothing really in depth, but I guess, based on how many people we had attend, or some of these may have led to much larger discussions than we might have amongst the four of us. But let's just go through and see how we go with what we've got here. So just sort of taking a quick look in here. So for the agenda, I guess I think Karen, you've joined before. Or I think I could be wrong, but
yes, that's correct. I did join the last one. Sorry for the background. I was just picking my son up from daycare, and I'm driving back home. But I did join the last one.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I just need to put everyone on hold for a second. I've got audio coming from another PC, not this one. Just give me a sec. I'll be back. Sorry. Going back to the conversation we're having starting the recording of wooden floorboards being fantastic for allowing me to hear that I had a PC turned on at the other end of the house, and I could hear the audio from this meeting coming through. So so let's jump on in. And so I guess then I think we've all been here before, so this month we don't really need to worry too much about introductions. In terms of events, I think there's probably only one that's kind of like in the immediate future. So before next month's meetup, and that's the AI Tour Sydney. Now, I guess like the reality here is if you haven't registered already, there's a very slim to nil chance of getting in. And just wondering if any of you were able to register for that.
I didn't try.
Oh, you just didn't want you didn't want to get rejected.
It's free, so you should try it. You never know.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, because I'll be down there on the 22nd for setup stuff, as well as on the 23rd, just sort of hovering in one of the hands-on areas. Hopefully not having to do much over the course of the day, apart from tell people, no, click here. No, not there. Here, click there. That's my life. No, not that name. This name. No. Don't sign in with your work account. Where does it say to do that? I'm just giving you a glimpse of what my daily life is like. Okay, so that one's coming up very quickly. Now, in terms of the topics then, so it's pretty simple. As I mentioned, I sort of picked I picked 3 topics and a couple of items for each topic. And some of these were just things that I guess are either things that have sort of slipped through the cracks that people aren't aware of, or they're things that I am very happy about. So let's jump in. So before you get upset with me putting Microsoft 365 in here, it's something very, very specific about Microsoft 365, which is that semi-annual channel is going away. So I'll give a little round of applause for that one. So farewell, semi-annual enterprise channel. You will not be missed. I guess there's still going to be, yeah, I'm sure we'll all encounter someone within the next few months who's complaining about the the removal of semi-annual channel, but it's, you know, it served its purpose, but its time has come, time to move on. And I think, you know, a lot of the original reasons why people would have stuck to it, it's getting harder and harder to justify some of the reasoning around, you know, backwards compatibility and all that kind of stuff, because all it was really doing was buying them a small chunk of time before, you know, things changed anyway. So this one's, so just with this one, I guess there is something else that I do want to highlight on this one is that, you know, so down here where they're talking about, you know, no impact or change for monthly enterprise or current channel, like for this one, like I'm always tempted to put in things like current channel preview in there because that's always, that's always something that people will ask about when they see it in one of the config tools. So yes, but otherwise this one's fairly straightforward, like only a few months away. And I guess if we sort of think about some of the things that are really probably going to be driving some of this as well and making customers less upset about it is anyone who wants any kind of Copilot integration, whether we're talking free Copilot chat or paid Copilot integration directly into the desktop apps. Semi-annual doesn't support it, would have never supported it. It would have always, they basically just would have not allowed that functionality to come through. So so there's obviously a few other reasons there, but, you know, being able to push, basically, you know, keep things more up to date, make sure features are getting rolled out faster, etc. I think we've probably gotten over the hurdle of a lot of the early days of, you know, the changes with the servicing models of, you know, of Office apps and Windows apps, and Windows, where people, you know, a traditional IT approach of I only want to do upgrades, you know, every 3 years at most. And all of a sudden we start saying, hey, with Windows there'll be X number of updates per year because decisions hadn't been made, and with Office it's like how many updates per year, per quarter, or per month, or per week would you like, based on what channel you're actually in. So this is one that I don't really see, at least for me, I don't really see any downsides here, but like I haven't had to work with anyone who's had specific reasons to stick with semi-annual channel for a long time. And even most of the reasons why they were things that I'd be questioning to a degree anyway. So what about anyone else? Does anyone have any kind of dependency or codependency or emotional attachment to semi-annual channel that will make it hard for you to let go?
No, I think, for us, we moved to monthly round about the Copilot time. So
and I think we're at the point now where I think anyone who's managing Office updates or M365 app updates, I think anyone who's been managing that has, over time has figured out, oh, hang on, like these are things that can just sort of update as needed. The impact, the disruption to users is absolutely minimal. In most cases, users aren't even going to know that it happens, unless you have somebody who never shuts apps down, only puts your PC to sleep, never shuts it down. If that's you, then you'll probably get the occasional nag reminder. But for anyone else who closes things or restarts, I don't remember the last time I saw a prompt to update Office or the M365 apps. And I'm getting weekly builds. But for me though, like I'm a shut a machine down kind of person, as opposed, or if I'm not traveling, it will be sleep. But as soon as the machine is getting carried around, for some reason, I'm still a little bit paranoid about lugging around devices in sleep mode. And I think that's just years and years of bad experiences that may be good today, but just I want to say being burned, and being burned is the correct term there. So other things as well in here is that there's like a bit of a ramp up in the M365 apps admin center, as well as in the config manager settings for the M365 apps as well, where semi-annual enterprise is disappearing from those options. So basically setting the stage. And in this case, I guess it's just a matter of like anyone who's got semi-annual configured, I guess moving forward, like, so even if you're grabbing the ODT and specifically, trying to deploy semi-annual, like I haven't tried, I guess, we're basically at that time frame now, I should test it, is to see what it actually downloads. Because they don't even have to install it. All we have to do is look at the package numbers and or the version number and compare. Actually, let's do it. Let's do this real time. Could I actually save that or not? Yeah, one of the downsides of new Notepad is always that, did I save it or did I just close Notepad? Okay, so let's just get rid of that again. And we can watch what's happening here pretty easily. I should have actually planned this out a little bit better, but it's always good to do something on the fly to see what the results are. And I'm not sure how much of a delay I've got for DO on these, but it shouldn't take too long. But we can just let that run in the background. We can switch back over to that in a minute. And if this is completed and there's only one folder, that means that everything, actually, we can probably already, actually, looks as though it's probably going to come down pretty quickly. So I'm just doing some stuff off screen. Okay, we'll just come back to this in a minute and see if it's actually done it for both within a short time period. Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so yeah, but otherwise, I guess, yeah, from here, like my guess here, like based on no information whatsoever, but apart from things taking forever or never being removed from functionality, is like I'm just working on the assumption that if you're using the ODT to do downloads, that they're not going to remove the option for semi-annual channel. Instead, it's going to be there basically, but it's just going to automatically pull down monthly enterprise instead. That way, because that way it's just doing what it's supposed to over time. So yeah, so overall, I guess it just means that we'll get to the point where everyone's just moved over. And again here, I guess if we think about what the potential downsides are here, again, we come back to my favorite topic, delivery optimization. That's going to be, how much DO is in use is going to be like a pretty big factor in terms of, let's get that down a bit smaller, because that DAT file should be a bit bigger than that, I think. Basically, if people have sort of got it so that everything's being pulled from the internet, then going from semi-annual to monthly enterprise would obviously be a full install. And obviously, if we could sort of just do some kind of peer delivery or connected cache or whatever other cache option the org uses, that should streamline that pretty much. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. So that looks like it's getting close to finishing. I think there's still a few more files left. I thought that dat file would be a little bigger. Oh no, that looks like the full size of the dat file. Yeah, so what I'm just waiting for here is if that basically jumps over to download semi-annual and we don't see a change, if we don't see a new folder created, that means that that change has already come into place through this tool. So yeah, very, very, very advanced way of testing it. But let's go back to the slides and we can jump back over to that in a minute. Okay, so yeah, so otherwise, pretty straightforward. But like when was semi-annual channel? Was it basically alongside Office 2016 or Office 2019 that the Office 365 apps came to existence? So it was either with one of those. So either way, semi-annual channels had a good run, but even with quite a few of the native deployment options, if you were using cloud-based deployments in a lot of cases, in a lot of places, it just like based on what SKU you had or how you had things configured, it was probably just going to pull down current channel in a lot of organizations if they didn't look too closely at that. Okay, so semi-annual is downloading and it has created a new folder. Okay, so they haven't actually merged them just yet. So I'd expect that at some point soon we'll see those two. Because it's not the 15th just yet, is it? Or it's only just gone over to the 15th in the center of the universe in PST. So that could also be part of it. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the Office side. The M365 side. Like I didn't want to talk about different M365 apps. I wanted to keep it a bit more focused on that. Now, the next one for Windows, a couple of things to cover in this one. The first one is with enterprise state roaming. Just now that it's moving into the Windows backup for organizations settings, so those changes start to roll out next month. So basically, we just have to move over from the Entra portal over to the Intune Windows backup for organization policies, and that's it. So a pretty simple one. But I think these days it's kind of weird. We just don't hear that, or I guess even for any of you, like how often do you have to talk about enterprise state roaming these days? Or when was the last time you even thought about it or mentioned it?
Probably when I took my MD 101.
Yeah. And that's what, like for me now, it's a matter of like I hadn't thought about it for months, and then there was something a few weeks ago where it's like, oh yeah, it's like, whereas I guess it was something that we cared about back when it was, or we cared about it more when UWP was going to be a thing, and when it was when it was syncing our browser history and passwords and things like that. But once the password sync moved over to Edge and Authenticator, etc., I think for a lot of people it was something that they not even interest in it, just general awareness of it probably dropped quite dramatically after that. So for anyone who's been saying, I'm not going to be using Windows backup, it's like, well, you may not use Windows backup, but you might be using organization policies for it. So it will sneak on in there. Now, the next one, a couple of slides here just on the Secure Boot certificate update status. So the first one, I've got a very exciting demonstration to show you before. And let me get the after. Now, I did have to go through and drop that registry setting in onto this device just so I could show this to you. So, oops, that's kind of interesting that it forgot that it had a file. Yes, so on the left-hand side, Secure Boot mentions the required certificate updates. Over here, let's say the classic / legacy / also this is also right now, let's call this the consumer view versus this is still the active corporate view. So by default, it's not showing up. They're not sort of showing that in the corporate view because you're not going to be checking that setting on the device. Or hopefully you're not going to be. Hopefully you are actually going through and looking at it through your different monitoring and reporting tools. So so again here, just seeing some of these things pop up, and again, pretty easy to go through and get some of those things up and running. Now, obviously, it would be, I'd rather not be doing it through regedit, but it's easy enough. Like, it's a one-off. I don't think I'll be I'm not going to be doing it on other machines. We've got other ways we can capture that. Now, there are a bunch of other sites that have been set up for this. So I'll just click on these to get them up on screen and then get them shared. Oops. So I'm just waiting for a browser to open up somewhere. There we go. Okay, so if we just jump back over, so I'll just drop. Okay, I'll just drop these into chat. And I guess this is still one of those, moving quickly type situations where, we're probably, it was kind of like a bit of a whisper when we first covered it, I think last year. And I think it's one of those usual things about the urgency will start to ramp up a bit for now. So so basically, if some additional content to take a look at on those. So I guess just the so some of the other, I guess we've got multiple issues here. Is that we've got the we've got the firmware requirements, we've got Windows Update or Windows certificate requirements in there as well. So I think that, like, the reality here, it's going to be a little bit of a mess in some places for a while until they figure it all out. But like anyone who's working with like major vendors that make it easy for you to do firmware updates, etc., I guess as long as you've got devices that are still getting firmware updates, which hopefully is the case. Now, final thing on the Windows side is just something that we mentioned last year as some of the announcements started coming through. But basically now we're getting to the point where by the time we roll out the next session or the next meetup, then this is where the hot patch updates for Windows are going to be received. Now, this is something where, like, I guess now, like, I'm used to the hot patch capabilities over on my Azure VMs because most of those Azure VMs aren't really doing very much. So I'm not really in. They're not installing drivers. There's very little that gets installed of them that actually requires updates on a regular basis. So I've been seeing benefits of this on the server side. But I guess for me, I'm not really going to see benefits on the client side personally, just because I'm always on, getting insider builds, etc. So I've got a guaranteed update restart every week anyway at minimum. But obviously, that quarterly cycle of 2 months with hotfix or 2 months with hot patch, 1 month, hopefully with your other application or Microsoft delivered driver updates, etc. Your .NET framework updates, things along those lines. Hopefully, we do see a better synchronization of those dropping into that month where hot patch isn't going to be the assumption that we'll be putting in there. Now, just down here, a couple of things on the prereqs for hot patches is basically allowing VBS for x86 devices. So, in other words, any of you who've got a Windows ARM device don't need to worry about that. So yeah, so fairly straightforward stuff. And finally, on the Intune side, just a few things that I guess in some cases, let's call it Intune adjacent rather than necessarily purely Intune for some of these. But I guess the first one here is that now there's been more messaging going out about Security Copilot for M365 E5 users starting to roll out, as opposed to it being a talking point. Now it's something where we should start seeing that. And here it's kind of weird that 400 security compute units per 1,000 users, but it's pro rata. But the thing that so in my tenant, my demo tenant, I've got one paid M365 E5 license. So does that mean that I get four temp? Does that mean I get 0.4 of an SCU each month? And if so, what can I do with it? I wouldn't be able to I could run a simple prompt, but I couldn't run a prompt book. That would definitely take more than 0.4. So with this, it's pretty, I guess, for larger orgs, I think we're now at the point where, Security Copilot, including some of that native KQL, natural language to KQL in Intune, etc. It's kind of like, whereas from my perspective, Security Copilot with Intune was kind of the weak point with Security Copilot when it was first introduced. Whereas now that it's got the even like getting like your Surface Portal integration, things along those lines. So even if I just jump over to it and we take a look. Now, I think the final Surface device that I still had under warranty has just fallen out of warranty. And let me just make sure that I've got Surface management enabled. Okay, that's kind of stupid that it couldn't figure out a Surface device. That is not a good ad for Security Copilot. Let's Microsoft Surface laptops. Okay, that's really not very good. Because if let me just check something. Okay, so yeah, I don't know why this wasn't actually. Let me try that same prompt over here. Maybe it's just my natural language was too natural for it. Okay, and this one found some much older ones. No, that just found generic. Because at first I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got a few old devices that might still be floating around. Okay, so I'm giving Security Copilot an F for its responses here. over here, over here it's fine. So that's weird that there's such a disconnect between it. Anyway, now completely unrelated to that topic, um, uh, except it's not, is that one of the Security Copilot agents, which is the Intune device offboarding agent, that is being removed. So basically, if you're using it now, you can use it until like end of May, but then it does get removed. So the reality here is, like, if we sort of think about what percentage of customers were using Security Copilot alongside Intune, I don't think this would be a large number of customers globally that would be impacted by that. Now, obviously, I'm making a few assumptions about it, but I guess if it's not doing what they're expecting, probably a good idea to terminate it prior to a whole bunch of people getting included Security Copilot usage in their M365 E5 subscriptions, discovering the agents and enabling them all, and then finding it out within a short time frame that this one is going to get disabled. Okay, and then the final slide of things that actually, sorry, not final, two more. So this one and one more. So another change that's coming through now for connected cache in this case is that now it is going to be requiring a TLS cert. So any of you who've got that running in in a lab environment, etc., or got it running at work, you'll have to go through and do that. So I'm guessing it should only take a couple of minutes to go through and do that update, but I haven't looked at the process yet. But I was planning on deploying a few more nodes for some other testing I have to do. So I'll just make the cert import a part of that deployment to see how it goes. And then the final piece is the on conditional access, the required approval client app control. So even though this was announced a long time ago, and I don't think you've been able to actually enable it on any new conditional access policies for a while, any policies that do have it enabled, that basically that functionality isn't going to be enforced after that. So basically, anyone who's still got that floating around in conditional access policies and is relying on it, it's not going to do anything, after June. So again, just something where a bit of cleanup and maintenance of those environments. Now, I guess the thing that probably could assist with this would be, let's go back over to Security Copilot. We've got the conditional access policy agent in here somewhere once it decides. So maybe this will, like, I'm hoping that they have specifically built built instructions into this agent to start looking for those for any policies that are still using that. So I won't go through and check that now, because I know that most of the recommendations it's got for me is turn your read only, or your audit mode policies on. Don't just create them and don't do anything. I know that's what it's going to be complaining about the most in my tenant, because I just always sort of build out a bunch of random ones for whatever purpose, but don't actually enforce them. So yeah, so with that one, it's so for this month, as I mentioned, I wanted to keep it as a fairly quick one, just going through a few things that might impact a few people, just because it's, I guess trying to sort of keep up with all of these different things. Like, unless it's something, I guess we get a little bit too reactive sometimes, where we're trying to figure out why things have stopped working, and it's because we missed a whole bunch of notifications letting us know that these were things that were going to be disappearing soon. So in this example, obviously, quite a few things that that have changed, that are moving, things being added, things being removed, but no doubt more than enough to keep us busy for for the extended time period. So I guess for me, that's really the main thing, the main stuff that I wanted to go through. So what I'll do is I'll just stop the recording so that if anyone wants to sort of have any other conversations that you'd rather not have recorded for privacy reasons, etc., I'll just stop the recording now, and we can